This is not just Jaylen Brown versus Stephen A. Smith.
This is what happens when a champion loses in the most painful way possible, then walks into the same media machine that has spent years judging him, branding him, questioning him, and profiting off every word. Jaylen Brown says Stephen A. is the face of clickbait media. Stephen A. says Jaylen needs to stop blaming the media and own what happened on the floor. And the uncomfortable part is, both of them might have a point. But before this became a media war, it started with something much simpler. The Celtics blew a 3-1 lead. Jaylen Brown had the keys. And 24 hours later, he called it his favorite season.
But in the end, Jaylen Brown, be careful what you wish for. You really want me to start reporting on that level? You understand? Locker room? How the organization might think about you? How the city may feel about you? How Jayson Tatum may or may not have feel about you? Sneaker deals, endorsement deals, the list goes on and on. The season is over, bro. You on Twitch, trying to do what I do, and talking about me needing to step away. It makes no sense. I'm not being disrespectful. I'm simply making the point that it is not wise, after 24 hours of having your season over in the first round, for you to be coming out talking about that's your favorite season. It ain't the smartest thing in the world to do. I wasn't trying to be disrespectful. I was trying to sit up there and look out by letting you know this is not a good look. It's not wise. That's all. And I would have respected Jaylen Brown more, Big Perk, Jay, had he come at y'all, had he come at everybody who said exactly what I was saying. But evidently, you understand, when you're talking about clickbait and all of that stuff, somebody told you one of the best ways to get it is to bring up my name. And that's what you did. So who's really looking for clickbait? Is it me or is it you? And obviously, you would think you wouldn't need it. $304 million, NBA player. You don't need it. What you doing it for?
Where are you guys on this? Because Shams' job is not to do what Prime wants. I know Ariel Helwani pissed off Dana White and everybody in MMA when he announced the Brock Lesnar fight. They don't have any use for journalism, but Shams doesn't work for Prime, and Shams' allegiance has to be to the news. I want to get into another portion of this, though, because you have what is happening right now is a genuine war between the Blake Griffin attitude where he says, go to brunch, you nerd. And here's Jaylen Brown now going after Stephen A. Smith, because you have a real disconnect right now between athletes and how they feel about the people covering them.
Stephen A. Stephen A, Stephen B, Stephen C. Like, my offer still stands. You want me to be quiet and stop streaming? Well, I want you to be quiet and get off these networks, because you're not using your platform to do real journalism. You're using your platform to use clickbait.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the latest edition of Straight Shooter with yours truly, Stephen A. That was Jaylen Brown of the Boston Celtics, essentially saying F Stephen A and all of this other stuff because he didn't like what I had to say to him. As you know, with Straight Shooter, I'm usually doing politics on Wednesday nights from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time over the airwaves of SiriusXM POTUS Radio, channel 124. A couple of times a week, I do something on YouTube, and obviously the latest involves Mr. Jaylen Brown coming at me the way that he did. Listen, he's wrong. He's wrong. He's full of it. And that wasn't necessary, but I get it. I understand it. You know, if I got bounced out in the first round after having a 3-1 lead, and I'm home watching the rest of the playoffs when I've already been a champion in the finals, MVP and stuff like that. I know what success looks like. If I'm Jaylen Brown, being home must be very, very frustrating. And he's looking to, exhale per se and get stuff off of his chest. Why he's targeted me, I really don't get it, but I'm here for it. Here's the bottom line. Jaylen Brown, in this particular instance, does not have a leg to stand on. He does not have a leg to stand on. To recap, ladies and gentlemen, his ire is because I basically said to him he should be quiet right now. It wasn't one of those shut up and dribble comments. That's not what I was saying. What I was saying is that the Boston Celtics played in the first round. The Boston Celtics, the most storied franchise in basketball annals, 18 championships. The Lakers have 17. 18 championships on their dockets. The Boston Celtics, who had never lost a 3-1 lead in the postseason, surrendered a 3-1 lead to the Philadelphia 76ers and ended up losing that series in 7 games. In the last 2 minutes of that game, the Boston Celtics attempted 6 3-pointers and missed all of them. They were down 2. You could have got to the hole. You're Jaylen Brown. You averaged 28.7 points per game this year. You shoot 47% from the field, 34% from three-point range. You are not a good player. You are a great player. You are a stud. Take the damn ball to the rack. Go to the free throw line where you shot 79.5% from the free throw line this year. Do something other than what you did. He didn't do it. And in the aftermath of that, with him driving the bus, with Jayson Tatum sitting on the bench, unable to go for the Game 7, and him not being able to close the deal, 24 hours later, he was on his Twitch account, I believe that's what it was, calling this his favorite season. You're a champion. You're an NBA Finals MVP. How are you calling that your favorite season? Whatever ways that he wants to elaborate and enunciate his perspective now is a little bit late because that's not what you originally said. I said it. Kendrick Perkins, a former Boston Celtics and a champion, said it. Numerous dudes that have played for the Boston Celtics and numerous former players all pointed to how that was a very unwise thing for him to say it. But yet he's targeting me. He's targeting me. And he's basically saying that I'm supposed to be using my platform to report, et cetera, but I'm not doing that. There's a lot of things that I could say about Jaylen Brown, about how people think about Jaylen Brown, how people feel about Jaylen Brown, just like he could say it about me. But the thing about it is, number one, I'm not going to get personal. Number two, I'm not going to do it because I got love for the brother and I got respect for him. And I believe in him. But he evidently has selective amnesia because, again, play the video of Jaylen Brown clapping at me, please, so everybody understands what he's saying. Let's play it again, Fudge. Go ahead.
Fuck Stephen A. Stephen A, Stephen B, Stephen C. Like, my offer still stands. You want me to be quiet and stop streaming? Well, I want you to be quiet and get off these networks because you're not using your platform to do real journalism. You're using your platform to use clickbait.
That's what he said. Ladies and gentlemen, did Jaylen Brown say that when I was raving about him all season long? Did he say that when I had him as a top 2 league MVP candidate? Did he say that when I raised holy hell when he got ejected from the game against San Antonio when he and Wembanyama were going up against one another, and him, Wembanyama, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander were the top 3 candidates for league MVP honors? Did he say that then? Did he challenge my journalism then? No, he did not. Did he say anything when I was going off on Team USA for him not being a member of that team when clearly he deserved to be? Did he say anything before when I pointed out how Jrue Holiday and Derek White, 2 players that spent 82 games during the season before this past season when Jrue Holiday obviously departed for Portland, but before then, when I pointed out how Jrue Holiday and Derek White spent every game of the season deferring to him because him and Jayson Tatum were the top 2 offensive options. Did he say that then? No. I remember one time when he sat up there and he talked about how, you know what? He had a problem with me talking about how he was not liked. Madison Avenue had a problem with him. His teammate Jayson Tatum gets all the endorsements and Jaylen Brown doesn't get any of them. Why is that? And he misconstrued me insulting him when I was pointing out how, no, you deserve this stuff. Why don't you have it? It needs to be an investigation into why that is. And if you think I'm lying, ladies and gentlemen, let me show you clips from me talking over the last couple of years about Jaylen Brown. One is of me talking by myself. The other is of me talking directly to him, to his face, right on this show, my platform. I want to play those clips back to back for you so you could see exactly what my position has been on Jaylen Brown, with Jaylen Brown, spanning years. Listen to this. I have no problem with Jaylen Brown. I got nothing but love for Jaylen Brown. a black dude, highly intelligent, great player, incredible role model, don't get in any trouble. His head is on right, disciplined, focused, tenacious, successful, wealthy now with his new $304 million contract from last summer. And oh, by the way, he's a champion. If you ain't Jayson Tatum, there's nobody that's a more viable option in the Boston Celtics than Jaylen Brown. Yet, he's not on the Olympic team. He's not on Team USA going to Paris. Jaylen Brown can defend. He is a complete player. He is an all-star. He is somebody that should have been all-NBA. He got my vote for all-NBA, even though others left him off inexplicably so. Can't tell me he ain't one of the top 15 players in the world. I don't know what folks are smoking. At the time that last year, when you agreed to your new contract extension, 5 years, over $300 million, it says here, you're the youngest person to ever hold a lecture at Harvard, became an MIT Media Lab fellow, was offered a NASA internship, became the NBA Players Association youngest vice president at the age of 22 years of age. And when your historic contract was finalized, you were in a robotics session at MIT. Is that true?
That's true.
So with all of that being true, I look at somebody like yourself and I don't consider it a negative, because the words that emanated out of somebody's mouth about what was being felt about you forced us to look into your background even more and ask the question, what the hell is wrong with him?
Absolutely.
Look at his intellect.
Absolutely.
Look at the fact that he doesn't get in trouble. Look at the fact that he's a great player on both ends of the floor. It forced us all to look at you, and then it had me screaming, why the hell isn't he all NBA? Why the hell isn't he on the Olympic team? You see what I'm saying?
It might have been misconstrued.
Right.
It may be in my tone, but my issue was never with you. It was with the unnamed source.
But I knew that.
I think
because because your family told me.
I do hold you accountable for your platform. I think we should hold each other accountable.
Right.
You have the biggest and largest platform. I feel like one of the biggest reporters in the U.S. So I think that should have some dissension at the end of the day.
I have no problem with that. No problem whatsoever with what Jaylen Brown said there, little over a year ago. But what's with all the fuck Stephen A? Is that necessary? Is that really necessary? What did I do? All I did was point out that you're a champion and an NBA Finals MVP. It's not good for you to be seen 24 hours after having your season ended in the first round, after surrendering a 3-1 lead, and being the bus driver for a Boston Celtics team, for you to be seen on video calling it your favorite season. That's all I said. That's all I said. What's the problem? You know, to say to you to be quiet, I'm saying to you, I'm not telling you to be quiet, like literally, like shut up. No, I wouldn't disrespect you like that. What I'm saying, Jaylen Brown, is it's not a good look for you. Because you're a champion and because you're a winner. Winners don't say stuff like that in the immediate aftermath of losing a 3-1 series lead in the first round within 24 hours after doing it. They don't do that. And they certainly don't do it and call it their favorite season when 62 games or 60 games or whatever it was played without your star teammate in Jayson Tatum, or with him on the bench in a game 7. They don't say that because they know it will invite scrutiny and suspicion and a raised eyebrow as to why you're thinking that way.
And the beautiful part about the wrestling of all this is I'm actually more interested to see what Stephen A has to say now that the gauntlet has been laid down. Now, what is Stephen A going to say? Because you don't want to make an enemy out of him.
I and we came up in a generation where ESPN decided to give the journalists, the nerds, voices that mattered, and that became the norm. But the way that we use those voices are now different. And Stephen A., in order to stay ahead of everybody else, has to evolve the way things are said in order to stay ahead of everyone else that he's competing with. And that is a contaminant that makes the divide even larger than it's ever been before. The storytellers are there, or have always been there, to chronicle, to celebrate, to ask questions, and to critique. But there is no disputing that the critique has gotten rewarded for the more extreme that it becomes, the more cartoonish that it becomes. And I understand when Jaylen Brown is saying, never mind journalistic integrity, how about just integrity in general?
I watched you launch 3 after 3 after 3 in the final minutes without going to the hole. I watched you surrender a 3-1 lead. I watched you come up short in the postseason, despite having a sensational regular season, where you validated every cent of the $304 million contract you signed and the future earnings you're likely to get down the road. A matter of fact, if you went someplace else to be a number one option, I wouldn't blame you, because you're worth it. You can do it. But you mishandled this situation. Champions don't go out 24 hours after surrendering a 3-1 lead and losing in the first round and